Hey, Twisted listeners, I'm Cindy,
And I'm Diva.
and this is Twisted Listers, a podcast about murder.
And Liz.
And I got a cat, and it's meowing, and it's the cutest thing ever. And I had this weird urge to go run and get it because it's meowing, but I think it will be fine. Um,
Cat
we
baby.
we
And I'm
adopted a
pumped
cat.
because I'm a cat lady and now I'm like, welcome to the club.
I know, I know. I'm sad that we no longer have dogs, but I thought we were going to go a lot longer without having an animal in the house. But we were all lonely. It was weird,
Yeah,
like
it's hard.
immediately.
I
Yeah.
can't be petless. I have that problem either. I went like 6 months last time and it was horrible.
Yeah, yeah. So now we have a little 1-year-old tabby named Bubba, and he's really cute. We got him at the pound, and I'm excited, but he's meowing a lot, so we'll see how that goes.
Well, he's
Anyway,
not as loud as Salem was my cat because I can't hear him. So
yeah. Um, he's like going off. Is that normal? Did they do that?
no, they do. Yeah, they don't like doors being shut either. They don't fucking like that. They like to have
Oh,
open
yeah, he's
access
mad.
to
I think
everywhere.
he's mad
Yeah.
about that. That makes
Yeah.
sense. He wants me. I think I'm mom.
Mm-hmm.
So, actually, hold on. Let's both pause it, and I'm gonna go get him. If that's okay.
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 Pause on Audacity.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1,
Okay.
pause.
Right.
Okay,
There might
we're
there
back,
might
and I
be
have
like
a
a second
cat.
off, but that's
That's
okay.
okay. I'll fix it.
Okay.
We're back, and I have a cat rubbing all over me. He was meowing so desperately that I brought him in, and he's so happy. Um, anyway, okay, enough about my cat.
Never enough
That's the
about your
cutest ever.
cat.
I know, never. I will learn that soon, I'm sure. This is a new topic.
Hmm.
This is people who are murdered over video games, and
Hmm.
I don't know what inspired me to choose this, but I'm also kind of surprised we haven't done it before. So, you know,
Yeah.
um, should we anything to talk about? Dude, the Gilgo Beach shit is going
Hmm.
off.
Yeah. I mean,
That is crazy. That is a torture dungeon.
I have not heard about the torture dungeon yet. I will be looking into that right after this.
Yeah, they found a secret fucking room in his basement that's fortified and shit. It's
Okay.
crazy.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I
Yeah.
listened to the Lisk podcast, which was really good, and also he listens to the Lisk podcast. We're pretty sure.
Wait, he did?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're like pretty sure.
Oh,
I
wow.
don't know if it's like a for sure thing, but he was like listening to absolutely everything about it. But
What a
the
freak.
Yeah, but they did a first part like on the updating everyone on what they have on him, and they're gonna do another part tomorrow. So
Mhm. Woo! Yeah, it's pretty crazy,
yeah,
guys. I'm really glad they found that motherfucker. He seems like next level evil.
yeah, and
Really fucking
I would
horrible.
also bet he didn't like quit. Like I bet there's more crimes that we don't know about, or like a longer timeline, or like
Oh, for sure.
yeah,
I'd be surprised if more of those victims from Long Island didn't belong to him, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, for sure.
So, okay. Well, anyway, that's our little true crime corner.
Chat corner, true crime corner,
Uh,
as they say.
yeah, cat and true crime. Let's get into the cases, yeah?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Okay. Awesome. Let's do it. What are you doing? I mean, yeah, what's your
Yeah,
case?
so both of my cases are very different takes on like video games and being connected to murders. And I feel like the cases I
Mhm.
kind of brainstormed run the game up. But for this one, I decided there were so many cases related to Grand Theft Auto, but they were all very small. And so I decided to stitch
Mhm.
them together like a quilt, if you will, a tapestry
Ooh.
of different Grand Theft Auto murder inspired murders and crimes. It's because there's a lot.
And that makes sense because Grand Theft Auto is super murdery,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
mhm.
And then my next one, the video game connection it's part real, part of the case, and part like bullshit, as far as, but this is like a
Mhm.
lot of these are
Mhm.
like, oh no, it looks like looks like they were inspired by Grand Theft Auto, like,
It really was.
so which like I said, so often that's bullshit. So it's interesting when it's like, oh, they kind of were.
Yeah, when it really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So here's a little background on Grand Theft Auto, this amazing game. I'm being sarcastic. It's stupid. The first version of the game was released in 1997, with its popularity exploding after the release of Grand Theft Auto, or GTA, as it's often called, GTA 3 in 2001. It's still out there. There's been like a billion versions. I won't go through all of them. But the peak of its popularity was probably like the mid to late 2000s. It feels very 2000s to me.
Yeah.
Like 2010s a little bit too. And every version of the game across the board has been met with a huge amount of controversy and outrage, and moms clutching their pearls. Um, and
Yeah.
yeah, and the game has been banned in multiple different countries and like been sued by all kinds of different organizations and people. And we'll talk about some of those lawsuits. So,
Okay.
why is this game controversial? If you've never heard of Grand Theft Auto, or most people have, but if you're not a video game person, let me tell
Mhm.
you just briefly. For those, yeah, in the game, you basically play as a criminal, and you're doing missions for like mob bosses and organized crime groups. Um, and just as a little sampler menu, this is not exhaustive. To give you an idea of why this is a pearl clutching suburban mom's literal fucking nightmare. This game, you
Mhm.
part of the game is you get points from running people over with your car. You're supposed to carjack people and steal cars, hence the name of the fucking game, right? Grand Theft Auto. There's a lot of car
Yeah.
stealing. You
Right.
have to escape the police. You're rewarded for killing the police. You can also solicit the services of sex workers and then right away kill them to steal the money that you just paid them.
Which is fucking insane that that's a thing that you can do.
You can also
Yeah.
drunk
Mhm.
drive. You can also deal drugs, and there's also one version of the game where you torture people and you can waterboard them.
That's so fucking crazy.
Yeah. So, like I said, this is
Ugh.
someone that is like not easily offended. It's even a little offensive to me. So you can imagine that
Yeah.
your teenager playing this is sort of like, oh my god, you know.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
let's get into our first case of many. So this is one of the beefiest one I have, but it's still short.
Okay.
This is June 2003. 18-year-old Devin Moore was reportedly an obsessive player of Grand Theft Auto. He was arrested and booked into a police station, or I'm not sure if he was arrested yet, but he was booked in for maybe questioning on suspicion that he stole a car. I'm not sure if he did or not, but
Okay.
it's sort of irrelevant because of what happens next.
What happens
Um,
next? Yeah.
he had no prior criminal history until this point, so he wasn't known to be like an angry guy, or there was no like warning signs of what was coming. But according to Devin himself in his later confession, as he's being booked in, he literally lunges at the officer booking him, grabs his gun, and shoots him twice, including a shot to the head, killing him instantly.
Whoa.
Yeah. When another officer came to see, like, to help or be like, what the fuck, Moore shot him 3 times, again in the head.
Okay.
As Devin Moore walked out of the station, he passed the emergency dispatcher, a man named Ace Mealer, and shot him 5 times, also in the head.
Jesus, dude.
Yeah. After killing these 3 men in less than a minute, he grabbed the keys to one of the patrol cars and drove off in it.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is a true fucking rampage.
Yeah. So after fleeing, police caught up with him and arrested him across state lines in Mississippi. I don't think I mentioned where we are, but we're in Alabama. Um,
Mhm.
and at some point after he's taken into custody, he reportedly told a cop, quote, "Life is like a video game. Everyone's got to die sometime." So,
That also, like, doesn't make sense because there are definitely video games where, like, nobody
where nobody
dies,
dies. No one
so
dies in The Sims. That's not true. Yes, they do. Yes, I do all the time.
but, like, Mario Kart, nobody dies,
That's
like, there's
true.
all sorts of games that nobody dies. That's a stupid fucking whatever, what an idiot. Okay, whatever.
So all right, so I'm gonna come back to the end of the case here in a second, but I'll wanted to mention how, of course, the victims' families filed a lawsuit against Devin Moore and Take Two Interactive, which produces Grand Theft Auto, and both
Mhm.
Walmart and GameStop for selling Devin Moore the 2 different versions of the game he owned. And this suit argued that the murders were Devin Moore reenacting a specific scenario from the game, which I will say is very similar to what he did, because the player goes into
Yeah,
a police station, gets away by killing all the police in it, and escaping in the police
right,
car. So it's not dissimilar.
right.
Um,
Yeah, fair.
yeah. This suit and the accusation of the families was covered in a 2005 episode of 60 Minutes. So just more like coverage amping up this like be afraid of the video game message.
Mhm.
Um, the prosecuting lawyer who was at first involved in this lawsuit made a really amazing statement prior to the trial comparing the sale of Grand Theft Auto to the Japanese bombing of Pearl Harbor.
That's pretty intense. Like, that's a pretty like, how? I would love to know, like,
Yeah.
how that's almost as bad as what the kid said.
Yeah. I'm like, all right, that's quite a jump.
That is quite a
Whew,
jump. I mean, I know they're going for, like
right,
they
it's
wanna, like,
bad.
really drive the point home, but, like,
Yeah.
that's kind of a
He
lot.
also compared it to the distribution of pornography, which I'd say is maybe a more apt comparison than Pearl Harbor. um,
Yeah, that feels better. Yeah.
yeah, a little less far away.
Mhm.
Uh, Although honestly, I would argue this game is maybe more harmful than pornography, to be honest.
Yeah, honestly, it's a pretty fucked up game.
Yeah. In 2009, I couldn't really find whatever became of this lawsuit, but there's so many times like that in these cases too, where there's a civil suit or lawsuit, and I cannot ever find the result. All
Mhm.
I found was that
I know, that happens a lot.
yeah. In
Yeah.
2009, a judgment of some kind was issued to Take Two. I couldn't find what that meant, but I did see
Mhm.
that one plaintiff later filed an appeal. So based off of that, I'm thinking that they did get some kind of settlement. If the plaintiffs are
Okay.
appealing it, they don't like it, right? Um,
Right. Right, right,
so
right.
I think they got something. How much? I don't know. The whole lawsuit was for $600,000, so it was, you know,
It's not even that much
not even
money,
that much.
honestly.
No. Um,
Yeah.
So I pulled this quote just to troll Cindy. So here is a quote from a family member of
Oh,
one of
thank
the
you.
cops who Devin Moore murdered around this lawsuit. He said, quote, "The question I have to ask the manufacturers is, why do you make games that target people that are there to protect us, police officers, people who we look up to, people that I respect with high admiration?"
Come the fuck on. Get out of here.
I literally pulled that out for you, just for you. Um,
They also kill civilians, which I feel is, like, way worse.
Yeah, I mean, obviously no one should be murdered, but, like,
I
it's
mean, also it's a video game, so, like, it's kind of not real,
yeah.
but yeah, nobody should be murdered,
No
but,
one
like,
should be
also,
murdered, but,
I
like,
don't know.
also the cop love is a little much for me.
The bootlicking's a lot,
It's a
yeah.
lot. Uh, and here's another quote. I actually like this quote from the lawyer representing the video game company. He said, quote, "If you went back to the 1950s, it's hard to believe now, but comic books were blamed for juvenile delinquency." And I think that what you have here is really much the same, very much the same phenomenon playing itself out again with a new medium. So it's like, yeah, it's true. There's always been media that's been blamed for people, doing crime.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's always somebody's fault, but it's like, well, that media and that shit comes from somewhere. It's
yeah,
like a chicken and the egg kinda thing,
yeah,
you know? Like, it's kinda silly to blame the art, but at the same time, games like Grand Theft Auto are, like, pretty fucking egregious.
yeah. They're pushing the edge of a lot. And again, like I said, I think I want to do this too because I think with a lot of video games, like especially the case I'll talk about next episode with World of Warcraft, like that is not a game that inspires violence. So to try to say that is absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah, it's
But
just
like,
silly. Yep.
maybe it inspires like never leaving your basement. That is true. But like, it's
Right.
not going to inspire violence. But Grand Theft Auto, I'm like, yeah, I could see it.
Mhm.
I could see if you were really
Totally.
fixate on this game. Um,
Yeah, that's a really good argument. Like,
yeah,
that's a perfect game to make the argument, you
yes,
know?
yes. So in 2005, Devin Moore pled not guilty. He went to trial. Interestingly, the judge officially banned Moore's lawyers from using being his influence, his Grand Theft Auto influence as a defense.
Really?
Yeah. I
That's
think it's really
interesting.
interesting. Yeah, we don't want it to benefit you. Instead, he
Yeah,
claims,
we're gonna say that you were inspired by this, but you can't use that as a defense, but we're
yeah,
gonna s that's weird. That's interesting. That is interesting.
the families are allowed to sue the game so it can benefit them, but like you're not allowed
Mhm.
to say that that happened, that it influenced you,
As your
to
defense.
help you. Yeah.
Okay. Very interesting.
So his not guilty defense is that he claims he had PTSD from childhood emotional and physical abuse that his father subjected him to, and he kind of snapped. So
Mhm.
like he clearly also from that defense we can see that he had other stuff going on besides just the game,
Yeah.
mentally. But because he is
Mhm.
a black man, Devin Moore, and he killed cops, in Alabama, he was found
Yeah.
guilty and he got the death penalty.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course he did.
Yeah. Yep, 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 yep.
Yeah. Yep.
You don't get that combination of crime, person, and state without that like result. I don't think.
Mhm. Jesus.
So boop 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 boop. That's Devin Moore. Zooming a little bit further in the year 2003 in September, um, two teenage stepbrothers, William and Joshua Buckner, ages 16 and 14, apparently shot.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, what?
No, no, I'm saying uh-oh about the age of these kids.
Yeah,
Not good.
16 and 14-year-old stepbrothers apparently got to a rural area near their home that faced the highway and just shot their shotguns into cars. This
What?
is in Tennessee. Yeah, this is really fucking
Oh my god,
horrifying.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Come on, Tennessee.
They killed a 45-year-old man named Aaron Hamill. I've also seen coverage that they killed a second victim, a 19-year-old girl named Kimberly Beatty, but I didn't see anything about her. So they killed
Mhm.
possibly two victims, and they straight up said, these two kids, essentially, that they were inspired by Grand Theft Auto, the 3. They were like, "That's what we were doing."
They were like,
Um,
"That's it. Hi, we just wanna tell you that up front. Like, this is why we're
yep,
doing it."
yep.
Jesus.
So Aaron's cousin, the victim's cousin, who was riding in the passenger seat, recalled the horrifying ordeal in one article, of seeing her cousin shot right in front of her, and then being in the passenger seat as it kind of the car like spins out of control, right? And
Mhm.
seeing his, seeing the bullet and like seeing his head, you know, in that shape.
Yeah, that's horrific,
Yeah,
truly.
really scary, traumatic. Another victim who didn't die was shot in the pelvis as she rode in her boyfriend's car, and she was
Ugh.
riddled with different bullet fragments as well. So just a really traumatic thing for multiple people. Um, and interestingly,
Mhm.
Jack Thompson, the same lawyer from the Pearl Harbor metaphor that I just mentioned, he got
Mhm.
immediately involved in the lawsuit, a lawsuit around this case as well. So I'm not sure. Like I kept reading things that kind of conflated Devin Moore's case and this case because they were so close to each other. So I'm not sure if he opened up a new lawsuit for this case or if he just tacked this one on to the already existing one. But he
Jesus.
gets involved too. He becomes like Mr. Vigilante against Grand Theft Auto. That's like his thing.
Now he's just like, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
he
that's fair, I
he was
guess.
later taken off the case, by the way, after some of his crazy remarks. They were like, let's.
Yeah, well, probably because they thought it was, like, hurting the
Yeah,
case, I would
exactly.
assume. Yeah, yeah.
So the two teens were charged with reckless homicide, aggravated assault, and reckless endangerment. They later
Mhm.
expressed remorse and said they didn't intend to kill people, which I'm like, shooting at people, so I don't know what you thought.
Mhm.
But and I don't know how legitimate the video game thing is. It could be these are children, but they also could have just kind of used that as like, we're just kids playing a video game. We
Yeah.
didn't know what we were doing, so you could argue it either way.
Yeah, we're just right, right, right. Yeah.
They did plead guilty though, and they were sentenced to an quote indefinite term in state custody. So I'm not sure what that means. I think
Oh,
it's a juvenile
it's
thing.
like Her Majesty's
Yeah,
pleasure, like in the
some
UK.
amount
Yeah.
of time. Yeah, but they did go to
We'll let you know.
they went to jail for some
Like,
amount of time. And knowing Tennessee, they probably don't care that they were children. Um,
right.
so
Yeah.
in June 2008, a gang of 16s, ages 14 through 17. I'm seeing a trend with the ages.
Yeah, my
um,
god.
in New Hyde Park in Long Island, New York, set out on a crime spree. And they also openly said that their intent was to imitate the main character from Grand Theft Auto that they loved.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
their stated intent. And their crimes sound a little bit like the game. Starting around 11:30 p.m., here's the list of things. They mugged a man and knocked his teeth out. They broke into people's garages to steal a bat and a crowbar. They then physically kind of what's the word when you drive like perpendicular to someone to block them?
Mhm.
T-boned. I don't know. I make
Yeah, T-boned.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
a lady to physically block her from driving. Then they attempted to carjack her, but she was able to eventually drive away and call for help. They then attacked a
Oh,
man.
that's good.
They then attacked a random guy in a van, smashing the windows of his van with their bats and attempted to rob him. But right in the middle of that robbery, the police rolled up and were like, "Hey, stop that!"
Put
Uh,
an end to it.
so they were charged with a
That's good. They were like, "Hey, please
stop.
stop."
They were charged with a whole bunch of charges of like robbery and possession of stolen property. Thankfully, they didn't kill anyone, but it seems like, they were getting
I was just
wild.
gonna say, like, so that yeah, there was no murder, but it's funny how many of these people are like, "We wanna be just like the guy in Grand Theft Auto," and it's like, I was actually watching a TikTok the other day where this guy is, like, acting like the guy from Grand Theft Auto, and he, like, walks like him, and he, like, jumps like him, and it's, like, really fucking funny to watch. Um, so it's just really interesting that, like, people are, like, turning this guy into, like, a hero, and he's, like, a really kind of poorly done 16-bit, like, you know, computer widget thing, and not widget, but,
Yeah.
like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, like, this really silly thing, and people are, like, looking up to him. It's like, he's not even fucking real.
I
Like
mean, I definitely think masculinity is a strange and fragile thing for a lot of cis and heterosexual males, and I think they can
yeah.
get very attached, I've noticed. I'm, like, putting on my Freud hat. They can get very attached, I've noticed, to, like, male role models in their lives of, like, older men or, like, certain men in their lives. So maybe there's, like, when there's an absence of that, they get, like, attached to fictional dudes. I don't know.
Yeah, I could see that. That makes
Yeah.
sense. They have to have somebody to look up to. It's just interesting that it's like this. Like, that's a sad comment on, like, our society
I
that,
mean,
like, this guy's in the
I'm
running.
sure the effects look better in some of the recent ones. I haven't seen. I will say I did play Grand Theft Auto. Not like I didn't own it, but I played it at my friends' houses in high school.
Oh, me too. Oh, me too,
So
for sure.
I have some
And I was
firsthand
always like,
experience.
"This is fucking
Yeah.
insane. Like, this is so bad."
I mean, it
Yeah.
is kind of fun. I will say the part I remember enjoying was like crashing your car into other cars because that's how I play a driving game. For example, is I like to just like create anarchy
Yeah.
and crash my car everywhere. Um,
Oh, 100%. I liked changing the radio stations, like, that was, like, my big
yeah,
thing.
they let you listen to
I was
radio
like, "There's
stations
so
in your
many
car while you're
choices.
doing
Like, I
crime.
love this."
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
You
fun.
want good listening, good music for that,
Yeah, I
so.
liked it more, the crimes against property was what I enjoyed more, I think, smashing
Yeah,
into
that's
stuff.
great. Yeah,
Okay,
100%. I agree with that.
so we've got at least 2 more, crimes here to breeze through. So in August
Oh,
2000
wow.
and there's a lot more, I didn't do this, could have been like an hour-long special. In August 2008, in Thailand,
Okay.
18-year-old Polwat Chino was obsessively into Grand Theft Auto, according to his own words. And so
Mhm.
he decided to kill a taxi driver, according to him, quote, to see if it was as easy in real life to rob a taxi as it was in the game.
Wow, that's pretty fucked up,
Mhm.
honestly. That's pretty jacked.
He killed a 54-year-old taxi driver, stabbing him 10 times. He claimed he was only going to rob him and not kill him, but he ended up stabbing him when the cab driver fought back, which, okay.
Okay.
He was found
Yeah.
by police driving backwards and driving erratically with the injured driver in the back seat, like dying.
Oh, that's fucked up.
So, according to Thai law, he faced the death penalty. I'm not sure what he ended up getting, but they're pretty death penalty happy over there.
Yeah, they like that shit over there. They're like
Yes,
us.
yes.
No
Um,
judgment, we're the same way.
so there was a pretty huge outcry too in Thailand against Grand Theft Auto afterwards. This was kind of like their like moment, like Columbine thing, but with that game, and a lot of
Mhm.
Thai distributors pulled the game off shelves and stopped selling it. So they had a whole thing about it. Um, Also, they had this guy. Reminded me of the Koh Tao murders in Thailand because just like there, in this case, they had the guy do a really awkward reenactment, and I'm like, what is it with Thai police and making the criminals do really detailed, awkward reenactments? Like, what is this
Yeah,
at the
it's
scene
really
of the
strange.
crime?
Yeah, it's really
It's
bizarre.
like
It's like
it's theatrical too, and there's all these journalists there, and I'm
yeah,
like, this is so fucking weird, dude.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, So
That
that's
is very fucking
that's
s that is really
Paul
strange.
Watt. In September 2013, in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, 20-year-old Zachary Burgess stole a truck that was parked and running with a woman in the passenger seat, and began to
Oh,
drive
shit.
wildly in the parking lot, ultimately hitting 9 cars before getting out. Oh no, sorry, before fleeing the scene in the truck with the woman still in the car.
Oh, shit. So it's kidnapping
Yeah.
too.
This is, by the way, whenever my husband goes to fucking pump the gas or like buy something in a store and I'm sitting in the car, I lock the fucking doors, you know?
Oh, fuck yeah. It's not victim blaming. It's
No,
just,
just lock
hey,
the doors.
something to think about.
No, it's
Something to
something you
think
don't
about.
always think about, but you should. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
so Zach was charged with kidnapping and 9 charges of hit and run. He
Yep.
blamed his crime spree on Grand Theft Auto and said literally, quote, he wanted to see what it was like to play Grand Theft Auto in real life. Again, just copy
No.
and paste.
Yeah, ridiculous.
But because he
That's
is
just
a
dumb.
young white college student, he got his charges reduced to 1 count of false endangerment and 1 hit and run, and he only got 6 months of probation.
Wow. Okay.
So
Must be fucking nice. That's fair.
hit 1
That
car,
seems.
get 8 for free. I guess like
You fucking terrify and traumatize a woman probably for the rest of her
seems
life,
very light to me. Yeah.
and you get 6 months.
Seems very light. Yeah, that especially
Very
for
fucking
that
light.
lady like who has like PTSD now. That's really scary.
Forever, yeah.
So
Her shit's
scary.
ruined.
Um
Jesus.
so those are my main ones, but I just wanted to close by like just saying that there's so many other instances of criminals that openly
Yeah.
said this is because of Grand Theft Auto, but there's also a whole other genre that I didn't even like fold in of crimes blamed on GTA to I think varying degrees of merit, but oftentimes it's very much like slapped on afterwards. Like a guy does a murder for a whole other reason, and then the parent or someone of the victims later on is like finds out he played Grand Theft Auto sometimes and is like, oh,
Right,
that
right,
was
right,
it.
right.
That was it. I'm gonna make
Ooh, I'm gonna sue them.
yeah.
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 Yeah, that's not good.
Exactly. Just one example of that really quick. A 15-year-old boy in 2002 in Medina, Ohio, named Dustin Lynch, brutally stabbed and beat to death a 17-year-old girl named Jolynn Mishney.
Mhm.
The victim's father blamed this on him playing Grand Theft Auto, and amazingly, Dustin Lynch, who seems like a real piece of shit, gave a statement saying, "No, that's absolutely not it." But then he went on like a long speech about how he has a fetish for blood, about how he loves Hitler, about how he did the girl a favor by killing her.
Wow,
So
okay. So he's like, "I'd like to set the record straight," and
yeah,
then he goes on that
yeah,
tangent.
he's like, let me set
Jesus
the record straight.
Christ.
Here's a menu of like 80 other reasons why I'm a piece of shit, just so you don't need that one.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, the
yeah,
yeah.
you don't need to rely
Definitely
on the
not
one.
Grand Theft Auto. It was
It was
Hitler,
Hitler.
not Grand Theft Auto.
I love that contrast
Jesus
of like, no, no, no,
Christ.
like, he, like almost like he was offended. Like it wasn't the game. Like it was my
Yeah.
love for Hitler. Like,
Don't misrepresent me. Like,
okay,
I'm not
um,
influenced by video games. I'm influenced by Nazis. Get it right.
yeah.
Jesus.
But anyway, but just to say that there's like 4,000 other cases like that, but if they're not worth detailing, I think as much when the killer himself doesn't put any sway in that. But the ones I picked, I thought were interesting because the killers mostly say like that's what I was doing. So
Right, 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 right. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. They admit it and there's no like
hmm
question about it. That's what it is. Okay.
yeah. So
Makes
that's our
sense.
tour through Grand Theft Auto Land.
Woo! What
So
a horrible fucking place.
yeah, and it's not. It's why I like games that are easy breezy, full of Mario and Princess Peach. You
Yeah,
know.
I like Mario Kart. That's my shit. Yeah, my jam
Yeah,
is Mario Kart.
exactly.
Uh, you just throw fucking bananas and shit at each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. And you race
Yeah,
around a track
some red
and you
shells.
win trophies. I might go play that after this,
It's where our
actually.
greatest
So,
violence is a red shell. You know.
yeah. Oh, God, those fucking red shells, dude.
Mm.
Ollie always hits me with them, and then he tries to beat me. He never wins, but like he tries, and it's frustrating. Anyway, all right. Well, that was depressing. I'm gonna kick it up a notch.
Great.
This is a little bit more all-encompassing. It's not a particular video game. It's a video game system
Okay.
that is the catalyst for this murder.
Great.
Um, in fact, these murders are called the Xbox murders, otherwise known as the Deltona massacre.
Mm-hmm.
This takes place in Deltona, Florida, and this takes place in 2004. So I feel like a lot of these video game murders were like early 2000s, kind of early mid
Yes.
2000s. It's
Yeah.
interesting. I feel like this was like at the height of the popularity of this shit, I guess. Um so this story starts with Erin Bellinger. She's 22 years old. She's a recent graduate of high school and had worked for a while, I think, like in some sort of service, like with kids or with like in a nursing home or something. And she has grandparents who live in Deltona, Florida. And during the summer, her grandparents leave Florida and they go, I think, upstate, not upstate, but like up to like New York or somewhere where you don't want to be in the winter because it's freezing fucking cold. They spend their winters in Florida and they summer elsewhere. So they ask Aaron, can you, stay in our house while we're gone, just look in on it, take care of it, whatever. And she's like, yeah, no
Yeah.
problem. Now, I don't know. It wasn't totally clear to me if she came to Florida to do this or if she had moved to Florida separately and then was asked to do this. I think she had moved to Florida separately and then was asked to do this. So she's basically living at this house over the summer and she's working at a local Burger King. And she's working there. She's 22. She's working there with a guy named Francisco Ayo Ramon. He goes by Flaco. He's 30 years old.
Mhm.
That's her boyfriend.
Okay.
She's also working with Michelle Nathan, Anthony Vega, Roberto Tito Gonzalez, and Jonathan Gleason. And I believe Michelle and Anthony, they're 19 and 34. They are also a couple and they're also living in this house. So four of these six coworkers all live together in this house
Okay.
that is owned by Aaron Bellinger's grandparents. The details leading up to this are a little bit fuzzy as to like who lives there and why. But essentially, what happens is in the beginning of the summer, she comes to the house. She's told, she can move in. She's going to move in with these coworkers,
Mhm.
and she finds squatters
Mm.
there, and she has to kick them out. And these squatters are like fully moved in. They're not like
Oh,
pissing in a pot,
yeah.
living in like no electricity, right?
It's
Like they
not
are
it's more than a
fully,
squat. They moved in.
yes, they're using electricity because the grandparents, like, they don't turn that stuff off while they're gone.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to turn it off and on every 6 months,
Oh, man.
so they just keep it going. So
Yeah.
these people get into the house, they're using the electricity, the showers, it's like a furnished place, so they're just fucking living there. And Erin comes and she finds these people living there, and she calls the sheriff, and she has these people removed. And as part of having these people removed, the sheriff tells her, like, their stuff isn't our concern. You know how cops are. They don't want to be helpful. They're like, just bag it up and fucking throw it away. Like, you
Okay.
don't have to give it back to them. Just get rid of it.
Yeah.
So one of these squatters is a guy. What the fuck is his first name? Oh my God, I can't find it right now. The guy's the biggest fucking loser ever, too. Troy
Okay.
Victorino.
Okay.
Or it's not Victorino. It's like the way it's said is like Victorno. Victorno, I think is how they say it. Troy Victorno.
Okay.
He's a 29-year-old, 6'6" dude.
Whew.
Big, big fucking guy.
Yeah.
And he has been living there. And he is like kind of the ring, like he calls himself like a king. Like he's a Latin king, is what he calls
You're
himself.
also squatting, so
Yeah,
that's tough.
yeah, it's like, well, how fucking much of a king are you that you're fucking squatting in some old people's homes,
Yeah.
for the summer?
That's tough.
But anyway, so Troy Victorno, I think is how he says it, gets pissed because he gets fucking kicked out. Obviously, a guy who's like, I'm a Latin king, like I'm this, that,
He's
and the
got
other.
an
He's gonna have a
ego.
really big ego,
Yeah.
but he's also gonna be really, really fragile.
Yeah.
So when he has some, white woman come in and kick him out and throw away his belongings, he gets really pissed.
Okay.
Now, the reason this is called the Xbox murders is because one of the items that she threw out was an Xbox. And now in 2004,
Mm.
Xboxes were not cheap.
No,
I
it's
mean, they're
very
still not
expensive
cheap,
though. Yeah.
but they were, yeah, that's a very, very pricey thing. So apparently he, hits her up. I'm not going to say reaches out to her because that's way too, like, classy a way to
Gentle.
put it.
Yeah.
He gets in touch with her and he's like, where the fuck is my shit? I want my fucking shit. And she's like, dude, I threw it out. The cops told me to throw it out. Like, you don't fucking live here. Like, fuck off,
Oh my
essentially.
God.
At one point, so he continues to like harass her and call her and
Yeah.
her boyfriend, you know, and at one point on August 1st, 2004, he and a group of guys come into Aaron's home.
Mm.
They basically break in and she's like upstairs on the phone with 911 and she's like, are you coming? Like, can you help me, please? And you can hear how nervous and how
Oh
scared she
my
is.
god.
Like, you can hear it. And they do send the police. I think by this point, everybody had left. They like knew the cops were coming. And the reason that I say that is because Troy here already had quite a criminal record. He
Okay.
had like beat somebody. He did 8 years for like beating somebody with a cane,
Oof.
which was pretty fucking crazy. Um, so, he's a pretty fucking violent dude. And in fact, a few days prior to this August 1st, I won't call it an attack because he didn't actually attack anybody, but the break-in, he got into another altercation and was arrested for violently attacking someone.
Wow.
And this comes up later as well, so keep that in mind.
Okay.
But essentially, this guy's a violent, scary fucking dude, right?
Yeah.
And of all the things he's pissed about, the thing that he focuses on is this Xbox
Okay.
because he's like, this shit is fucking expensive.
Mhm.
What the fuck? So a few days later, August 1st, she's calling 911. She's obviously very scared. She gets him, the fuck out of there. A few days either before or after that, he, is beating somebody else and should be going to prison. And then on August 6th, 2004, around 1 a.m., Troy and a group of guys break in to Aaron's home. Now, the men that he is with, the men that he is with, the men that he's with,
Mhm.
why can't I speak? Like, I'm like, is that proper English? Anyway, it's Jerome Hunter, a friend of his, and then Robert Cannon and Michael Salas. And I think Robert and Michael were more on the periphery.
Okay.
They were either like offered money or were trying to impress Troy or whatever. But Troy and Jerome were like good friends and
They're the
they
main
decide,
guys, yeah.
they're the main guys. So they have a gun. Also, like a week before this attack, he shoots a gun in the general area of this home. And the idea, I think they were thinking they're going to go into this house and they're going to, shoot all of these people with this gun. But for whatever reason, they couldn't get their hands on enough ammo. So they change tack and they decide, and this is so fucked up, that instead they're going to beat Aaron to death. And so they go to a nearby Walmart. I think it's I think it's a Walmart, and they buy baseball bats. They
God.
each buy a baseball bat. And at 1 a.m. they break into this house and they attack Aaron. But not only do they attack Aaron, they attack her boyfriend,
Mm.
Flacco. They attack the roommates, Michelle and Anthony. They attack two friends that were staying over, Roberto and Jonathan.
Wow.
And Jonathan Gleason was only 17 years old.
Wow.
Michelle Nathan was only 19 years old. And Jonathan Gleason, not Jonathan, yeah, Jonathan Gleason and Tito Gonzalez like didn't even fucking live at this house. They just happened to be there. So these guys break in and they just start attacking. And it's a fucking horrific scene. Roberto is in a lazy boy, I think asleep,
Mm.
and they come up and just beat him. He never had a chance to even get out of the chair.
Lizzie Borden style.
Jonathan Gleason, what's that?
Lizzie Borden style.
Oh, Lizzie
While
Borden
his
style.
dad was
Yeah,
sleeping.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Jonathan Gleason begs for his life, saying, I don't even live here. I
Oh,
was just spending the night.
God.
And they beat him.
Ugh.
Aaron is beaten, obviously, the worst. She's
Mhm.
actually beaten so badly that they have to identify her via dental records, which takes
Oh,
like a while.
God.
They knew who it was, but like to confirm,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
had to do that. Um, really fucked up thing is that after she was dead, Troy assaulted her sexually with the baseball bat, which is fucking
Ew.
horrifying.
God.
Yeah. This massacre was so fucking violent and bloody that police who were on the scene say that it has like haunted them, that it is by far and away the most violent shit they've ever seen. And I'm going to say one more thing just to drive home how violent and terrifying this was. She had a dachshund and they stomped it to
No,
death.
don't tell me that.
I'm sorry,
Don't
but
tell
like,
me.
I just really want to drive home how
No.
fucking
I have a
horrific,
dachshund that I
right?
love in my life too, so that really
I
hurts.
know, I
Yeah.
know. I'm really sorry. So there are a bunch of witnesses. It makes it pretty easy to figure out who these people are. The Walmart witness who saw them together right before the attack, saw them buying the fucking bats. There's records, police records of these interactions between Vitorno and Aaron and,
Yeah.
all of these people. So while it's like a crazy, scary scene, pretty quickly they figure out who it is. And they arrest Troy and they arrest Jerome. And then eventually they arrest the other two guys and they charge them all with all of these murders, with, breaking and entering, with all sorts of crazy shit. Now, when asked about the murders, it kind of comes to light that in addition to it being inspired by the Xbox, because they're he's really fucking pissed
Yeah.
that she disrespected him and that she took his Xbox. He's also inspired by another piece of pop culture,
Okay.
the movie Wonderland.
So about the
And
Wonderland
I don't know if
murders?
about the Wonderland
Okay.
murders. And if you know about the Wonderland murders, I do believe I actually covered the Wonderland murders.
Mhm.
It is a very similar thing where a group of men break into an apartment filled with people and beat and stab
It's
everyone to death.
a
And I
similar
do want to mention
massacre type thing. Like,
it really is. And
yeah.
and the beating and the stabbing, because they actually, I don't know which one of the people um were stabbed in this massacre and the Deltona massacre, but they did use a knife. As far as I know, the cause of death for everyone was the baseball bats, but they did also stab them.
Okay.
So it's interesting to me that this was not only precipitated by the stealing or whatever of an Xbox, but there's more pop culture that kind of
Yeah.
influenced what happened. So it's like a very kind of silly and pathetic thing, to
Yeah.
be honest.
Really dumb influences to have.
Yeah. Yeah. So these guys go on trial, they bring up Troy's, background of having a really rough childhood and being abused and this, that, and the other, but nobody fucking cares. I don't care. I'm sure you don't care. I'm not going to go into it because fuck these guys. And he and Jerome, so Troy and Jerome were both given the death penalty. And then the other two guys, Michael and Robert, were given life without parole. And it's because of how it was determined, like who killed who.
Right.
Troy with the sexual assault post mortem is really fucking
Really
fucked up.
extra.
Plus, he has
Yeah.
this, yeah, and he has this really long, like, laundry list of crimes.
Right.
Um, Couple of things. First of all, the death penalty got overturned for those two men because it wasn't unanimous. And
Mm,
apparently, you cannot give somebody the death penalty if the jury is not unanimous. Now, I don't know if that law was enacted before or after they were originally given that sentence, but for whatever reason, people weren't happy about it. And so it got overturned. This happened in 2004. 2 months ago, an article came out basically calling this thing a fucking circus and saying that they are still waiting to be resentenced.
wow.
So we don't know if they're going to get the death penalty again, if they're going to get life
Why the
without parole.
delay? That's
We have no
crazy.
idea. I don't know. There's just like so much back and forth about the legalities and like their lawyers are just working overtime. I don't really understand it. It's Florida. I feel like they're going to end up with the death penalty and they'll probably be dead in the next 5 years. But I don't know. If it updates, I'll let you know. The other thing that I kind of brought up previously that was a huge fucking problem was that because Troy had been arrested just a few days prior for this assault, he was supposed to be in prison for a parole violation when these murders happened. And his parole officer was supposed to, within 48 hours of finding out that he was arrested, was supposed to report this to the judge, who would then send him back to jail. His parole officer dicked around until August 4th,
Oh my
and
god.
the judge dicked around further or didn't receive the report or whatever until August 6th, which was the day after these
That's
murders took place.
so annoying.
Yeah. So had this guy's parole
Mm,
officer just done his fucking job, I feel like every single episode boils down to if the cops
yeah.
had done their fucking jobs, these people would have not been killed.
Yeah, we
So
can't
once
go a
again,
single set of 2 cases without hitting that mark at least one time.
yeah, and it's like, dude, I don't know if there's another group of people who are so consistently terrible at their job. And especially ones that like make the money that they make and have the power that they have, it's really astonishing because
Yeah.
it is just like 100% across the board how it goes. So anyway, we still don't know what's going to happen to these two guys. The Bellinger family, they left the courtroom and they were showing the horrific crime scene photos. I mean, they're fucking terrible. It was really, really fucked up. So we don't know what's going to happen with them, but this was just a super senseless and extremely violent murder, all because this guy was a fucking squatter with an Xbox.
Wow.
So there she be.
My God.
That's fucked up, right?
How also, I mean, one could ask, do you get into a place in life financially where you're squatting, but you can also afford an Xbox? Or was it stolen, do we think?
I don't know. I feel like that's a big thing. Like my brother used to kind of be like that. Like he lived
Mm,
in a shitty apartment in Reseda, but he had like a really expensive car,
priorities,
you know?
so people have different priorities in life.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a weird thing amongst like kind of young-ish like wannabe hard dudes. Like they prioritize certain things.
Mm,
So, but
God,
yeah, that was something I was kind of warning. Is like, dude, if you don't want your Xbox to get thrown out, like don't fucking squat. Go get an apartment, you know? Like
ugh,
I don't know.
terrible.
Yeah. Pretty fucked up.
Awful, awful, awful.
Really bad. So, anyway, that's the first two.
Mhm.
Thanks everybody for listening. So I was a little distracted. This cat was like rubbing all
I
over my
saw
computer
that. He's like,
screen.
"I love you, new
Did you
mother."
see?
Yeah, and I love the
Oh,
little, the tail action I'm getting here in the camera. You can
could you
watch
keep
it.
seeing the
Yeah.
tail? Yeah. He's now laying with like his feet. Like, look, I'm gonna show you. I'm sorry you guys
Oh,
can't see.
oh,
You see his
yeah,
feet?
they're all upwards and stupid. Yeah,
Yeah, he's like laying all funny and his tail's tucked into his foot. Oh
yeah.
my god, he's so funny.
Cat feet doing
Anyway, I've
stupid
never had a
things
cat.
are they're very precious when cat feet do stupid things.
These are the cutest things I've ever seen. These paws are just unreal. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I always say that's the
Anyway, there's
meaning
our
of
little
life.
happy corner.
Yeah, the meaning of life, I always say, is cat feet.
Cat feet. That's fair. Oh, I
Everything.
just touched him and he kicked me. Oh my god. I hope after those horrific stories, the talking about my cat has helped everybody feel a little better.
Yes.
Oh, he's big mad right now. He's like leaning at me, like, what are you doing? Why are you touching my feet? Because I feel like it, fool. Yeah, I love him. Okay. Anyway, thanks for listening, you guys. We'll
Yeah.
be back with part 2 shortly.
Mhm.
Sorry to keep it quick. I've been sick. Oh my God. There is a company in New Mexico. I'll shout it out at the beginning of the next episode called Be Nice. It's a small independent company. They do like bath and body type stuff. He's actually sending me stuff because he heard that I was sick. So he's giving me like all sorts of stuff to help me feel better, which would be great
Aw,
because what I have is like sinus and headache stuff. And so he's sending me stuff to try and help it. So you guys check it out.
that's awesome.
Out of New Mexico, Be Nice. I'll link it in this or the next episode. But I'm very excited to try all the cool stuff that he's sending me. Anyway, sorry for keeping it short. I'm a little under the weather
That's all good.
and just trying to keep it together. Keep it together, keep it together, keep it together.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So thanks for listening, guys, and until the next half,
Stay.
off our
Liz.
Stay off 'em. Bye.